may inadvertently contribute to problems. When people consider people with developmental disabilities internally young or less capable, or they excuse behavior that's inappropriate, allowing people, I've had clients come up and hug me the first time they meet me, or people come up and want to hug. Oh, he's just, he's very friendly. No. I am a professional. I'm not his friend, and I'm not part of his family, and it's really not appropriate for him to be hugging me. So we're going to start with boundaries right from the beginning. And they're like, well, it's harmless. There's nothing there. It starts off maybe harmless, but it confuses the boundaries and it muddies things up. And if we know anything, the clearer we make things, the better, right? So let's make things clear. If you wouldn't allow your other 20-year-old to, hug somebody or give them like, a really, a cheek-to-cheek kind of hug upon meeting a professional, then that's not okay for your loved one to do to another professional. So we don't want to ignore, excuse, avoid dealing with behaviors. We want to focus on relationships and assertiveness skills early on. So we'll try to tackle that right away, towards the end of elementary school into junior high and high school, so that because it's right now I have a lot of clients, you finish high school and then you fall into this like pit. There's like all the services just disappear, and it's like family members are like, wait, we still have someone that needs support. Where did everybody go? And it's really difficult. So I think like services organizations like FAN and GAN and all these people, all of you being out here, is such a wonderful thing, because there's so much need out there. And so things that we fail to teach, societal norms and customs when it comes to how we interact, where it's okay to touch people, where it's okay to touch yourself, where do you do it, where don't you do it, that kind of stuff. Really having an honest, frank discussion about it and being okay with that. Resources, where do people learn that? You might not be comfortable talking about that, and maybe your child or the person that you're caring for doesn't want to talk to you about that, right? So maybe they would be more comfortable talking to someone outside the family. So where are resources for that? Or maybe a text is really all they need to kind of access that information. Where do we go for that? We need to instill that peer alliances are very important from the very beginning. We need to keep pushing in the social skills department that you need to be spending time with people outside the family. That you need to, I know that's, the battle I keep having with my 19-year-old client. I'm like, what's going on with, people in your he's a senior now in high school. What's going on with people in your drama department? And he said, oh, they're going to a movie this weekend. I said, oh, great, that sounds like a really fun thing. And he's like, I'm not going. I'm like, if you tell me you don't want to see the movie, I want you to tell me what I'm going to say. And he's like, I'm not interested in it. And I'm like, and he's like, I know, you're going to say it doesn't matter if you're not interested in the movie. You should be prioritizing the relationships. And I'm like, and he's like, okay, I'll go. Right? And he may not, at least he knows I've said it, we're working on it. But almost always for him it comes down to, but that's not my favorite thing. But that's uncomfortable. But that's new. New is bad. Uncomfortable, bad. I'm like, you get uncomfortable, embrace being uncomfortable. There's a lot of great things in that, okay? Speaking in front of an audience, not very comfortable, but there's a lot of great things, and coming and challenging yourself to do that. So get out and try that. So that's one of the things we talk about. Peer alliances are super important, and they become more and more important as you get into that adult age. You're not going to be able to find appropriate sex partners if you don't have peers to interact with. So I always tell them, hey, you know what? You want to start dating people and having relationships? Have more friends. You're going to practice conversations with your guy friends. You're going to practice conversations with your guy friends and figure out how to negotiate things. Well, I want to go see this movie. I want to go see this movie. Okay, well, how are you guys going to come to a compromise? We're talking about our desires, our preferences, and how we're going to compromise and come together. Does that sound like that might lead to something helpful later on if we're able to do that? When it comes to more intimate desires and preferences and respecting people's points of view and prioritizing the relationship and not taking advantage of people and knowing what's appropriate. Like, you don't always go, it wouldn't be okay if you went out with a friend and he gets to pick the movie every time. It's not okay. So that gives you an opportunity to learn about the give and take in a relationship, which prepares you about give and take in an intimate relationship. That's why peer relationships are very important from very early on. They set the stage for healthy interactions later on in life. Okay. We need to teach, instill values regarding the value of interpersonal relationships above other kinds of things in life, intellectual pursuits, and even special interests and things. So we want to promote that. We want to explore the nature and type of social relationships. What's the difference between a professional relationship and a peer relationship? A one-way street versus a two-way street. Okay, we had a situation which was really upsetting where we had a family. They were trying to help their son kind of promote social skills, so they hired people to come into his life, and they acted like friends. Okay, and he thought they were friends, and then later on he found out they were paid people, that they weren't actually choosing to be his friend, they were paid to be there. And it's an inauthentic, he felt betrayed, he felt, and legitimately so. When he found out, he's like, you're kidding, they didn't choose to be with me? Am I so bad that no one would choose to be with me? So it was meant to be a helpful intervention and to support him and to give him confidence, and unfortunately it did a lot of damage, the opposite. So we don't want to get in situations where we're not being clear about what's going on. Okay. So we want to teach self-advocacy. I have a few resources here for you. One is a relationship identification program. If you have people that, like elementary school age, middle school age, that need to understand, it could be adapted actually to high school as well, that need to understand levels of relationships. This goes into all different levels of relationships and what's appropriate when, where, with who. Like, who are you allowed to give money to? Who are you allowed to give your personal information to? Who are you allowed to who's allowed to see you naked? Who's allowed to touch you where? Right? So we don't even have to go into issues of sexuality. We can talk about boundaries in all sorts of areas way before we get into that area. So wrong lessons we teach, we teach sex as a non-subject. And we often inadvertently teach adherence to authority figures and passive compliance. And we need to also get people into saying no to authority figures and to practice that. So it's important because who's most likely to get in a situation of abusing someone with developmental disabilities? Is it a stranger? Is it stranger danger? That should be like a wasted concept, because the truth is that our people on the developmental disabled community and people on autism spectrum are more likely to have an incident of abuse or exploitation, and it's more likely to happen from someone they know. So there's no one that's exempt from being reported on or having a discussion about, well, that's your uncle. That's impossible. He's a family, I don't even want to hear you talk about that. No one's exempt. Everyone gets reported on. Everyone gets talked about. We explore every issue, and especially, people that you see every day or you see frequently.